Good morning, everyone. We're in Luke chapter 21, starting with the widow's offering. And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. Verse 2. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in thither 2 mites. Verse 3. And he said, Of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast in more than they. Verse 4. For all these have of their abundance cast in unto the offerings of God, but she of her penury hath cast in all the living that she had. Verse 5. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with godly stones and gifts, he said, verse 6, As for these things which ye behold, the days will come, in the which there shall be no stone left unturned. Verse 7, And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be, when these things shall come to pass? Verse 8, And he said, Take heed that ye not be deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. Verse 9, But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Verse 10, Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Verse 11, And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilence, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. Verse 12, But before all these they shall lay their hands on you, and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Verse 13, And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Verse 14, Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. Verse 15, For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. Verse 16, And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Verse 17, And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. Verse 18, But there shall not be a hair of your head perish. Verse 19, And your patience possess ye your souls. Verse 20, And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Verse 21, Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Verse 22, For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Verse 23, But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck, in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. Verse 24, And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive unto all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Verse 25, The coming of the Son of Man. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Verse 26, Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Verse 27, And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in cloud with power and great glory. Verse 28, And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth near. Verse 29, And he spake to them a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. Verse 30, When they now shoot forth Ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. Verse 31. So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Verse 32. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Verse 33. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Verse 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unaware. Verse 35. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the earth. Verse 36. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Verse 37. And in the daytime he was teaching in the temple, and at night he went out and abode in the mount that is called the Mount of Olives. Verse 38. And all the people came early in the morning to him in the temple for to hear him. Note chapter 21. And he looked up, and he saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in thither 2 mites. A mite was 1/16 of a penny. In other words, it took 16 mites to make a penny. 2 mites would be 1/8 of a penny. Now here are these rich people putting in their great gifts, maybe $50 or $100, and this certain poor little widow goes up. There in the temple, the offering things are sort of like a horn, and they would drop in, and the poor little widow cast in her 2 pennies. We tend to appreciate the amount of the gift, not necessarily the sacrifice that went into giving the gift. So an interesting thing in God's economy is not the amount that you give, but what it costs you to give. So many who are giving less in God's economy are actually giving more. The amount is immaterial. What's the sacrifice? What's it costing you to give? Compare the false piety of the rich lawyers and the genuine piety of one poor woman. This is another lesson for loose readers on how one's faith should influence his or her attitude towards money. Jesus presented the real issue as being how much one keeps for himself or herself, rather than how much one gives away. When David was wanting to buy the threshing floor of Araunah, because the angel of the Lord had stopped there at the threshing floor, and David had wanted to buy it and to offer a sacrifice unto the God. Araunah says, "Take it, man, it's yours." And David said, "No, I will not give to God that which costs me nothing." And David insisted on buying it. He wouldn't take it as a gift because he wanted to give it to God. And he said, "I won't offer to God that which costs me nothing." What does it cost you to give? That's what measure God goes by. And they will persecute you, delivering you up into the synagogues and into the prisons, and you will be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, and it shall turn to you for a testimony. Jesus said, "Look, you're going to get arrested. You're going to be hauled before the kings for my name's sake, but that's all right. It's going to give you a chance to witness for me." And I find it fascinating that every time Paul was brought before a judge or before the king, he took the opportunity to give a witness for Jesus Christ. O King Agrippa, I count it a privilege to be able to share with you what's happened to me, because I know that you've studied the law of the Jews and you understand these things. And the things that Jesus did weren't in a corner. Now I myself was like you. I thought to be against this man, and I was commissioned to arrest him, and so forth. And he went on and he gave a heavy witness to King Agrippa. "King Agrippa, do you believe?" "I know you believe," he says. "Paul, wait a minute. Your much learning has made you mad. And King Agrippa says, you think that you're going to persuade me to be a Christian? But Paul was trying. Jesus said, hey, you're going to bring you before kings, and don't worry, it's going to give you a chance to witness. And Paul used that every time he went before a king. Now, Paul was taken before Nero. There's nothing in the biblical account that tells what Paul said. But secular history shows that Nero wasn't too bad a person until he met Paul. His castle is a great monument in itself that has been uncovered recently. But Nero wasn't looking for grandeur. He was trying to figure out Paul the Apostle. The first time that Paul was in prison in Rome, he had his opportunity. You remember when he was before Festus? He appealed to Caesar. And so he went to Rome, placed there in prison where he wrote his Philippine epistle. And he had his chance to go before Nero. Secular history records this dramatic personality change of Nero right after the time that Paul laid the witness on him. It was at that same period of time in history that Nero went through a drastic personality change and became a monster. He burned Rome because he wanted to rebuild a new glorious Rome for his own credit. And then he blamed the Christians for it. But he became almost a man possessed, insane. We must consider, did he become demon possessed after Paul's witness and his rejection of Paul's witness? Perhaps he opened his heart and life to demon possession. So Jesus said, now don't worry about it. It's going to give you a chance to witness. And Paul took that chance every time he got it. And he said, don't make up a speech in advance in your own heart what you're going to say. Well, I'm going to say this and that and the other. But he said, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your advisories shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. So in other words, now don't worry about what you're going to say, because I'll give you the words in that time, and you can wipe them out. And you will be betrayed both by your parents and your brothers and your kinfolk and your friends, and some of you they will cause to be put to death. They may kill your body, but after that they have no power. And in your patience possess ye your souls. What an important bit of instruction. In patience. God help us. We have very little patience when it comes to God. We can pray for patience, and I'm sure everyone knows we get our patience from trials and hardships. I knew the passing of my wife would be the biggest hardship I ever experienced, so I would have never have asked for it. For the first year, I did not even want to get out of bed. But every day, not only was God with me, but he carried me. Most people would tell me I had patience like a rock, but I have a lot more patience after what I went through. So if you want more patience, just tell God you're ready. He'll make you have some more patience. There shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity. On the earth, there will be distress of nations with perplexity. That means that the distress of nations is problems that nations will be facing. The word perplexity in the Greek means no way out, so they're not going to be able to solve it. Now the government is searching for a way out. We're going to cut taxes. We're going to balance the budget. Government has become a burdensome. In fact, government has become so expensive we can't afford it anymore. And that's the problem that we've hit. There's no way that we can afford government any longer. It's a monster that has just continued to grow, gobbling up everything until it has grown to such an extent that there are not enough people left to support the government workers. Men's hearts failing them for fear and for the looking after of those things which are coming upon the earth, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. He's describing events of the great tribulation period here, and then after this great tribulation. shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your head, for your redemption is drawing near. We have the solid word of Christ. Now even as Jerusalem was destroyed, and not one stone was left standing on another, and the Jews were decimated, and the remainder were made slaves throughout the earth, and Jerusalem went under the hand of the Gentiles. Just as all of that was fulfilled, you can be sure Jesus is coming again. The rest of the prophecies will be provided. God didn't bring it along this far to drop it now. We are moving towards the end. The whole system is moving towards this climax, the return of Jesus Christ in power and glory. But when we see the signs of that return, we know that our redemption is so close. And Jesus affirms it. He says, "Now look, heaven and earth will pass away, but not my words." Take heed to yourselves. Now this is a message for all of us. Take heed, be careful, lest at any time your hearts are overcharged with surfeiting, drunkenness, partying, the cares of this life, and that day overtake you unaware. There is a party spirit in the world today. Do not be alert. Be careful you're not caught up in it, and that day of the Lord catch you by surprise. Be careful of these things. Jesus warns you that these things are going to be like a trap for men. Drunkenness, surfeiting, gourmet type of eating, cares of this life, so that day come upon you unaware. For as a snare, it is a trap. It shall come upon all of them that dwell upon the face of the earth. Watch ye therefore. So the Lord's command to the church is to watch. We need to be watching every day. And pray always that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things. All what things? These things of God's judgment that will be coming to pass upon the earth, as there are the signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and the heavens shaken, in the earthquakes and the pestilence and the famines. Pray that you will be accounted worthy to escape all these things. Only days after telling the disciples to pray that they might escape persecution, Jesus himself asked God if it was possible for him to be spared the agonies of the cross. It is abnormal to want to suffer, but as Jesus followers, we must be willing to suffer. But while the book is there in the right hand of the Father, and when Jesus steps forth to take it, that glorious song of the church, "Worthy is the Lamb," sung by those who are standing before the Son of Man. Jesus is saying, look, you pray always, watch and pray always that you will be accounted worthy to escape all of these things that are going to be happening upon the earth, that you will be standing before the Son of Man. It is my prayer and anticipation that I will be accounted worthy to be standing with the company of God's redeemed saints in heaven, singing of the worthiness of the Lamb to take the title deed to the earth and to lay claim to it. I want to be standing before the Son of Man. I surely do not want to be down here on earth when it's going through all the chaos. Shall we pray? Father, as we look around the world in which we live, and as we look at your word, and as we see these things beginning to come to pass, we see the nation of Israel existing once again. And that wasn't a small feat. We see the city of Jerusalem under the control of the nation of Israel. And we see the distress of nations and the perplexities. We see the nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. The increased earthquakes, these pestilence and famines. O Lord, help us that we will be accounted worthy to escape all these things. I hope on that day we're all there. None of us wants to be here when that day happens. Now for our next song.